Bringing unity to the community. 89.9 KMOJ, the People's Station.
89.9 KMOJ. I'm Glam Life Kim, and right now it is time for Minneapolis 360 with one of my favoriteest people in the Twin Cities, Mr. Anthony Taylor. How are you today, Anthony?
I am feeling blessed, Kim. It's always my pleasure to be here with you on this show. Feeling real good. I feel your energy too. So tell me, you feeling must be feeling beautiful today, huh?
You know what? Today is a good day. I don't know what. It's nothing in particular because, I usually like to see sunny skies, and today it's a little gray in the Twin Cities. But
yeah, it's super gray.
It's super gray, isn't it? And it's supposed to rain kind of off and on, I think, today. But I'm feeling wonderful. I don't know why. I just woke up on the right side of the bed.
Good, man. And I hear that energy coming through, so I'm picking up your vibe, sis. And
right. I'm passing it on to
energy.
You.
Pass it on to me, and I got to pass it on to somebody else, y'all. So hopefully today both our energy will be able to come through and shine on this kind of gloomy day. We all know that Mother Nature, Kim, is about to let us know that she is coming in full force, right?
That is true.
Those 75-degree days we had are going to be a thing of the past. But I want to hopefully bring some sunshine to the show and welcome Minneapolis. This is Minneapolis 360. I'm your host, Anthony Taylor, always coming to you every second and fourth Wednesday of the month, hopefully to provide some really good information to all those to be informed about what's going on. And it's always my pleasure, like I say, Minneapolis. And one of the biggest things that I want to talk about today is, I don't know if you look at it, the calendar or not, but we're about 3 weeks away from election season, right? So I want to have a show about elections. I want to get deep into some of the things that are on the ballot, some of the languages that are on there. And if anybody's been following anything about a lot of things in our government, this is an important election cycle that we're on. All our elected officials will be on the ballot. Park board seats are up. Just really want to give some information on that so folks can make some informed decisions, because I think it's important that we vote. So first and foremost, Minneapolis, is please register to vote. Please get out and vote. I think it's important. If we looked at our last few elections, there's been a lot of increase on voting. I think we talked a little bit, roughly less than last year. Minneapolis led the nation in census reporting. So we do a great job, Minneapolis, of being able to exercise our voice in voting. So I want to bring on a guest from Election and Voter Services in the city of Minneapolis, Aaron Grossman. How you doing? Welcome to Minneapolis 360.
Thanks, Anthony. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to talking about the election, and we're just 3 weeks and minus 1 day away now.
Absolutely, Aaron. So tell folks, what do you do for Election and Voter Services?
Sure. So I'm one of the supervisors of election administration for the city of Minneapolis Elections and Voter Services. My main program area is our in-person early voting, which is going on right now and will continue through the day before Election Day. And I also work on some of our ranked choice voting tabulation.
Absolutely. You'll get into that later in the show, Aaron, and I'm glad that you're on today because you're the perfect person to talk about a lot of these things. But let's just get right to it, right? So, as you said, we're about 3 weeks away from Election Day. What are Minneapolis voters should be doing now?
Absolutely. So, Minneapolis voters should be making a plan to vote. So, there's different ways that you're able to cast your ballot, whether that's early by mail, early in person, or at your polling place on Election Day. But now is the time to make that plan so that you can make sure that your vote is counted. So there's a couple different options. We can get into those. I'd be happy to. But now is definitely the time to be thinking about that and plan out when you'll be casting your ballot.
And also, too, Aaron, like this is a big year, and I think all elections are pretty big, right? So just kind of walk Minneapolis through, right, what are people voting on this year?
Yes, so like you said, all the municipal offices are on the ballot this year, so that includes the mayor, city council members, the Board of Estimate and Taxation, which has 2 at-large seats, and the Minneapolis Park Board, which has 3 at-large seats and then 6 district seats. So that's a lot for the ballot, but there's also 3 ballot questions, too, which are charter amendment questions that have been put to the voters. So those 3 questions are, the first one is about government structure, executive, mayor, legislative council. Question 2 is about the Department of Public Safety. And question 3 is authorizing the City Council to enact rent control ordinances. So that's a lot. It's a lengthy ballot, and with ranked choice voting for the different offices, voters will have the opportunity to rank up to 3 candidates. So definitely making a plan and consulting a sample ballot to make sure you're familiar with it is a great strategy to make sure you're ready to vote on Election Day or before.
We are talking with Aaron Grossman from Election and Voter Services here at the City of Minneapolis. And just kind of walk us briefly, Aaron, around the 3 questions. So give kind of just a little bit of detail in those questions, right?
Sure. So there's a limited amount that I can say in my role as an election administrator, but we do want people to understand what they're voting on. So I'll take just a second with each of the questions here. So question 1 is about government structure, executive, mayor, and legislative council. So I'll just go ahead and read the language of that question that will be put to the voters. So it goes, shall the Minneapolis City Charter be amended to adopt a change in its form of government to an executive mayor legislative council structure to shift certain powers to the mayor, consolidating administrative authority over all operating departments under the mayor, and eliminating the executive committee? So this question, there's different ways that questions get put to the voters. Some come through the Charter Commission, some come through the City Council, and then others come from a petition of citizens. And so this question came originally from the Charter Commission and then worked through the process to be on the ballot this year. Continuing on, so we have the question 2, Department of Public Safety, potentially the one that's gotten the most attention so far. I'll read the ballot language for that one too. It says, shall the Minneapolis City Charter be amended to remove the police department and replace it with a Department of Public Safety that employs a comprehensive public health approach to the delivery of functions by the Department of Public Safety, with those specific functions to be determined by the mayor and city council by ordinance, which will not be subject to exclusive mayoral power over its establishment, maintenance, and command, and which could include licensed peace officers, police officers, if necessary, to fulfill its responsibilities for public safety, with the general nature of the amendments being briefly indicated in the explanatory note below, which is made a part of this ballot. It continues with an explanatory note, which reads, this amendment would create a Department of Public Safety, combining public safety functions through a comprehensive public health approach to be determined by the mayor and council. The department would be led by a commissioner nominated by the mayor and appointed by the council. The police department and its chief would be removed from the city charter. The public safety department could include police officers, but the minimum funding requirement would be eliminated. So that's a lot of language, and that's question 2. That one originated from a citizen petition with signatures collected over the past number of months. And finally, there's the 3rd question, which is authorizing City Council to enact rent control ordinance. I'll read this one. It reads, shall the Minneapolis City Charter be amended to authorize the City Council to regulate rents on private residential property in the City of Minneapolis, with the general nature of the amendments being indicated in the explanatory note below, which is made a part of this ballot. The explanatory note that accompanies it reads, this amendment would authorize the City Council to regulate rents on private residential property in the City of Minneapolis by ordinance, provide that an ordinance regulating rents on private residential property could be enacted in 2 different and independent ways. First way, the City Council may enact the ordinance, or the City Council may refer the ordinance as a ballot question to be decided by the voters for approval at an election. If more than half the votes cast on the ballot question are in favor of its adoption, the ordinance would take effect 30 days after that election, or as such other time as provided in the ordinance. So sorry to just read everything through to you there, Anthony. So that's really what will be on the ballot that voters see this November. And we definitely encourage people to research both the questions and the candidates so that they can make an informed decision.
Yeah, and Aaron, I appreciate that, and I'm glad you did that, and that's kind of where I wanted you to go, because I really want to have folks informed, right, of these questions, because they're very important, and we've known about some of the things that's been happening around these ballot questions. So giving folks details regarding those questions, I think, is very important. In Minneapolis, we're talking about city elections, less than 3 weeks away. If you have any questions for Aaron, please call 612-377-3456 to get on here with Aaron Grossman from Election and Voter Services. So Aaron, now we're talking about these ballot questions, and folks may not be sure if their votes are counted. What are you hearing from folks regarding some of the yes or no that needs to be applied to some of these questions?
Sure. So we're seeing early voters come in now and, take a little bit of time with their ballot to make sure that they're casting their vote as they would like to. I would always like to remind people that you're definitely allowed to do research, of course, before voting, but even during voting. So if you get to the voting booth and you think, oh, what does this mean or something, you're welcome to pull out a smartphone and do some research right there privately. So it's a open book test in that way. It's also important that people know exactly how these votes are counted on ballot questions. So if somebody doesn't vote on the ballot question and leaves it blank, that doesn't count as a yes or a no vote on the question. The only votes taken into account are those who voted either yes or no. So that's a little bit different than like how, constitutional amendments work at the state. So we only take into account those who have selected yes or no on it. And then the second point, just a little quirk about how ballot questions and charter amendments are passed. So a ballot question in the city of Minneapolis needs at least 51% yes votes in order to pass. And so just drawing the distinction between a floor of 51%, whereas generally the floor would be 50% plus one. So it's a little bit of something to keep in mind, that it has a slightly higher threshold than races that people might be more acquainted with.
We are talking with Aaron Grossman from Election and Voter Services here at the City of Minneapolis regarding the questions that are on the ballot. Again, Minneapolis, all of our elected officials are up for election coming up here in a few weeks. And Aaron, I know there's some confusion around ranked choice voting, right? It can be kind of complicated, and I'm glad you're on to kind of hopefully guide folks through this process. Explain exactly what ranked choice voting is.
Sure, and so this will be the fourth election that Minneapolis has used ranked choice voting, but it's still new to many people, and people are moving in and out of Minneapolis all the time. So ranked choice voting, it's a voting method where you vote for your candidates in the order of your preference. So this is really just ranking your favorites, your first, second, and third choice, if you have them. You can use up to those three rankings or not if you choose not to. So basically what happens is on the ballot you'll have, like, for example, the race for mayor. You'll have a column that is for your first choice with all the candidates listed, a column for the second choice with all your candidates listed, and a column for your third choice with all the candidates listed. So you'll just go ahead and choose your favorite. And then if you have a second choice, a different candidate in the second column, and if you have a third choice, a third candidate in the third column. So this allows you to really maximize your vote, because if your favorite candidate loses or has the fewest number of votes after we look at those first rankings, your vote will be reallocated and transferred over to your second choice, should you have one. So this is a process that we've been using. It allows voters to really maximize their voice on the ballot by sharing their preferences up to those three choices.
And to be clear, Aaron, you don't have to, I just want to make sure people understand, you don't have to have particularly two other choices, right? You could preferably stick with your primary choice. You're not required, correct, to have three choices on your ballot. Is that correct?
Absolutely. You can just, if you only have one choice or one candidate that you like, you can just rank them as your first choice, leave the other ones blank. That's no problem. It doesn't hurt your first choice at all.
We are talking with Aaron Grossman, Election and Voter Services here at the City of Minneapolis. Again, Minneapolis, we're less than almost 3 weeks away from elections, and Aaron's on here to kind of talk about exactly what it is that's on the ballot, some of the questions that you may have. If you have any, please call 612-377-3456. So, Aaron, what if I have to mail my ballot, right? Can I have a ballot mailed to me in my home, or how does that work?
Yes, absolutely. So just like in other elections, absentee voting by mail is available to any voter. So you don't need any type of excuse. You can just choose to vote by mail. This year it's a little bit different. So our The online application, unfortunately, is not available in odd years. It's a system that's run by the state, but it's still pretty easy to request your mail ballot. So what you'll do is go to vote.minneapolismn.gov and look for the link to vote by mail. There will be a form there that you can either print off and fill out, or you can just fill it on your computer or phone, and then send it back to us by email or dropping it off or by mail, and that will kind of generate your request for us to send out a ballot to you. I would like to remind people, just with kind of the back and forth nature of mail, that we really do recommend that you apply for that ballot as soon as possible and really no later than this upcoming Tuesday, October 19th, just so that there's enough time for us to receive your application, us to send you a ballot, and you to return a ballot, because those ballots are due on Election Day at the very latest. So that's available to any voter, and it's a great option this year, of course, amidst the pandemic, if you'd prefer to vote from the comfort of your home.
And again, you can go to that website, vote.minneapolismn.gov. Talking with Aaron Grossman about elections, and there's always confusion sometimes in the air from folks about will my ballot be counted? What if I make a mistake on my ballot or gets lost? So just kind of walk Minneapolis residents through.
Anthony, we do
Aaron.
have a caller.
Absolutely, Kim.
Let's take him.
Let's do that. Aaron, you want to take a call?
Sure thing.
Hey, caller, you there?
Absolutely.
Yes, I'm here.
Awesome. Go ahead with your question.
I just want if the guest can explain question number one as it pertains to the mayor versus the city council. Are we saying that one would have power over the other and one would be exempt? If you can just explain that to us.
Yeah, thank you for the call. Unfortunately, the nature of my particular position in elections means that we really can't provide a whole lot of commentary around the questions besides the language that's right on there. But I think the question was around the question number one, which is government structure, executive, mayor, legislative council. And maybe the key phrase I'll just take from the ballot language here is that it would be adopting a change in the form of government to an executive, mayor, legislative council structure, and it would shift certain powers to the mayor, consolidating administrative authority over all operating departments under the mayor, and eliminating the executive committee. So I can't say a whole lot more about that. I do appreciate the question and the conversation, and would encourage people to look to other sources, media sources, things like that for a little bit of maybe a further explanation than I can provide today.
Okay, thank you.
And appreciate you too calling in and asking that question. And I think, Aaron, you kind of understand where people are at, right, with some of their questions and wanting to make sure there's clarity. And I understand your role too. Maybe is not to get in depth into some of those things, but Minneapolis, this is an important election. So I'm glad you're calling. Please, any other callers have any questions for Aaron? 612-377-3456. Aaron, I kind of want to just skip around a little bit before we, time is always not enough on this show, but I want to just make sure when we're talking about ballots, right, and folks making sure that their ballots are being counted. If folks made a mistake on the ballot or lost their ballot, what can folks do? First of all, making sure their vote is counted, and then second, just, if my ballot is messed up or lost, what can folks do?
So I'll take both of those, and thank you for bringing this up. So especially when you vote by mail, you're not there with an election official who can review it for you. So it's the most important that you review all the instructions, fill out everything properly to make sure that your vote is counted. So this year, just as a reminder, that the witness requirement, which requires a voter voting by mail to get another registered voter in Minnesota to sign as a witness to say, yes, I know this person is filling out their own ballot, that is back in effect. So that's on the white signature envelope that you might get as part of your mail packet, and that needs to be completed completely for your ballot to count. The other kind of aspect of making sure that your vote is counted is making sure that it's returned on time. So it needs to be to us by Election Day. So whether you choose to mail it in or drop it off in person, Either is fine, but that deadline is Election Day, and the drop-off deadline is 3 p.m. on Election Day, so that early afternoon deadline there. So with keeping those in mind, it's just fine if there is any type of mistake or issue with your ballot, you can just contact our office and ask for a replacement ballot. What we'll do is kind of cancel that first one, cancel that request, whether it was lost or you accidentally recycled it or you spilled coffee all over it, anything like that. We've heard it all. And then we'll send out a fresh ballot to you, and you'll be able to vote that and return it to us. We are recommending to give people enough time that those ballots get into the mail back to us by Tuesday, October 26th, to allow 1 week of time. But again, the earlier the better. And then, of course, if you do get a ballot in the mail and you put it off and now it's past that return window, you can always come and vote in person, whether early at our early vote center or at your polling place on Election Day. And that's just fine as long as you have not returned the ballot that you got in the mail. Same thing, we'll cancel that one, and then you can vote in person. So there's always an option there if you do wait until Election Day.
We are with Aaron Grossman, Election and Voter Services. We got a few minutes left on the show. If you want to ask Aaron a question, please call us at 612-377-3456. So, Aaron, talk a little bit about the early voting centers and, maybe what are my options if I want to vote or if it's too late or if I want to vote early by mail. Kind of give folks some options around that.
Yeah, absolutely. So every Minneapolis voter is welcome to our early vote center. It's located at 980 East Hennepin Avenue. So that's kind of just off of 35W over near northeast Minneapolis. And we're open here every day, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30. And then beginning next week on October 18th, we'll be open every day all the way through the day before Election Day, November 1st, including weekends. So starting on October 18th, we expand our service hours to open at 7 a.m., close at 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. And then weekend hours beginning on October 23rd. We'll have Saturdays, the 23rd and 30th, open from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Sundays, the 24th and 31st, open from noon to 5 p.m. So that really allows, another couple dozen hours of time that we're open to hopefully allow voters to get to us either before or after work or on the weekend or whenever is a convenient time for them. So that's open to all Minneapolis voters at this one location ahead of Election Day. And, of course, on Election Day, you will need to vote at your polling place. You can find that polling place online either through our website or the Secretary of State's website at pollfinder.sos.state.mn.us, or just go ahead and search for where's my polling place. On November 2nd, those polling places are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., and as long as you're in line by 8 p.m., you will be able to vote.
And Aaron, and again, I want to thank you for the information because I think a lot of times folks may not know some of this information, so it's always good to kind of update folks as well. And obviously, too, we may have some new voters or folks who've moved and things like that. And if I need to register to vote, what are my options around that too, Aaron?
Yes, and so in Minnesota, you can register to vote at the same time that you actually do vote, and that's called same-day registration. So unfortunately, it just passed for the pre-registration deadline, which would allow you to register before Election Day. But in Minnesota, it's easy if you come prepared to register at the same time that you vote. So if you are needing to update your registration, so that might mean that you've moved since the last election, or maybe you had a name change or something like that, or if you're just registering for the first time, you'll just need to fill out an additional form when you come to vote, and make sure that you have proof of registration with you. And that proof can take on many different forms. The most straightforward one could be a state ID or driver's license with your current name and address. But you could also use old ID, even one that's expired or from a different state, as long as you pair it with something that shows where you live now, which would be something like a utility bill or a lease agreement or a bank statement, something of that nature. And the entire list can be found on our website online. And there's a number of different options. I always like to point out that Minnesota does allow a voter to register with a voucher. And the voucher is basically somebody who lives near you in your same voting precinct who will attest that they know who you are and where you live. And so if you don't have ID or you can't pull together those documents, but you do have somebody in your household or a neighbor who can come with you when you go vote, that's everything that you need in order to register and cast your ballot that day. So definitely look into those options. Call our office if you have any questions about what might qualify as those proofs of residence, because we most of all want to work with you to make sure that you're able to cast a ballot.
And with the results of this election, too, like, what should I expect? I mean, should I expect something like the presidential election that it took a week, Aaron, for results? Like, when I vote, like, when can I find out, if my candidate has won or not?
Yes, it's a good question, and what everybody is glued to beginning on election night. So, like in other years, results will be on the Secretary of State's website as they're available, so as precincts are reporting them throughout the evening on November 2nd, Election Day. And remember, when you're looking at those, that those ballot questions require 51% of the vote, not just 50% plus one. I always want to remind about that. But with the ranked choice voting races, it takes a little bit longer to do the tabulation because we're doing that process that we discussed earlier where we might have to eliminate one candidate and reallocate their votes to another candidate and so on. So with ranked choice voting, if a candidate gets the required number of votes to win on election night, just looking at the first choice rankings, then they can be declared an unofficial winner, and we'll update our website with all of those results as they come in. If nobody reaches that threshold, that amount that they need to win, then we'll let folks know that we'll be continuing with our tabulation the day after Election Day, so on Wednesday, November 3rd. And we'll start working early that morning and running through all of the ranked choice tabulation, announcing results throughout the day, and we'll keep going until all the results are complete. So that takes a little bit more time, but of course we want to take the time to make sure that everything is tabulated accurately and the results are reported in a complete manner.
Yeah, and I appreciate you coming on today, Aaron, to talk about this. I mean, obviously, it's important that folks know the information around elections. It's always important for us to get out and to vote. So I thank you today for coming on, Aaron Grossman from Election and Voter Services, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me, and make sure you make a voting plan, and we'll see you this November.
Thanks, Aaron.
That is Aaron Grossman, Kim. I mean, this is election season, right? I mean, it's important that we get out and vote, right? And just make sure folks understand that. I think it's important. It's
very important. We always wonder why things sometimes don't happen the way that we would have liked for them to happen. And if we don't speak up, right, if we don't have other people who believe in the same things that we believe in who can speak up for us, that we voted for, right? And it's very important that people know and understand that, hey, get all the information that you need to know. And today was the perfect time to ask all the questions that you had about the voting process.
Absolutely, and I couldn't have said it no better, sis. What a way to end the show. You always had these mic drops, man. I appreciate you.
Drop the mic.
You had these mic drops, man. They always a beautiful thing. So, Minneapolis, I want to thank you for being here. I enjoy coming to you. Be blessed, be safe, and be well.
Thanks, Anthony. We love you.